Here's the thing about Germany, why I made a curator's pick of the Hollywood Fringe Festival. Community, heart, you're doing it.
This is Like It Is Radio, Black Intelligent Talk Radio.
Hey, hold on. Let me set this right. I gotta put this down for a second. You know, we about to get greasy up in here, so I want y'all to know there's a reason for the season. Whenever you see me,
wow,
it's greasy time.
Wait a minute, don't do it without your mini fez on.
There you go. Nothing but the facts. Today was an interesting day in radio, you know, because I know a lot of people enjoy the Like It Is radio program. It's Power 88 KCEP FM here in Las Vegas, Friday mornings, 10 a.m. to 11. But today's show is quite interesting because let's talk about colorism, if you will. I'm going to take it on the colorism tip. There's a clip that you will see about a gentleman who talks about me, as if I'm not a black man. He doesn't identify me with the multicultural Pan-African background that I have. My parents' lineage come from third world countries. And yeah, I'm a lighter hue of an oppressed individual. But I do understand this guy.
As a matter of fact, I had a conversation with a guy today. Let me tell you. He is the host of a radio show. No, I'm not going to tell you what his name is because I'm not going to out him. I should. Because he's, it's funny. You ever see those black folks that are really light-skinned?
The GOP is worried about Ward 5. That's the Republicans, y'all. They got an interest in Ward 5. I'm going to play a clip for you from a leading, it's a podcast, a webcast, whatever. This gentleman is on the air here in Las Vegas. He's a black Republican. Yes, so they have interest in Ward 5. So when you say, do you live in Ward 5? No, I don't live in Ward 5, but I have interest in Ward 5 because outside's interests have an interest in Ward 5. The Republican Party has an interest in Ward 5. This person that you're about to hear, this is an excerpt from a show. You can go to Like It Is Radio and see his whole show. His whole show, Like It Is Radio, will be on it. You can see what this brother, this man of color, is concerned about Ward 5. He doesn't live in Ward 5 either, but he has interest in Ward 5 because he's a black Republican. And they know that means business. That means, and they're talking to people who are running for this office in Ward 5. Out of his own mouth and his own podcast, he castigates your man, Franklyn G. But he says, I'm going to talk to Mr. Harvey Mumford. I'm waiting on Mr. Vanguard. That's what he says on his own show. Mr. Vanguard, was supposed to be on his show. But he's talking to Harvey Mumford, and he's going to make it plain, y'all. I'm going to let you hear the clip, and then y'all can figure out what's going on, and then y'all can call me, because this politics thing, yo, check out what this brother says about your homie.
It's funny. You ever see those black folks that are really light-skinned? You know what I mean? Not paper bag brown, but light-skinned, like my shirt, real light-skinned. But they've got a little flare in their nose, a little kink in their hair. You know what I'm saying. I'm not, don't act like you don't know what I'm saying. Guys that are passing as white, but they're actually black. When they get home, they're eating chicken and they've got hot sauce in their pocket, like Hillary Clinton. You remember. So this radio host and his sidekick are on a liberal station. I won't tell you who it is. You can guess, but I'm not going to tell you. But I have been on their show before. A couple of times, so that's a hint.
And yes, this is I can consider myself some type of an investigative journalist at this point. I'll take a different tone because I got your tape and you talked about Mr. Mumford.
I made a mention about meeting with Harvey Mumford yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday.
So investigating journalists want to know why a black Republican who doesn't live in this district, who has business interests in other places, why Republicans are interested in Ward 5 and what Mr. Mumford agrees with them on.
Met with Harvey Mumford, what was the day before yesterday? Anyways, last couple of days. Met with Harvey Mumford. He's running for Ward 5 and for the city council seat, open city council seat, along with Randy Voyard. And we're hoping that Randy makes it here tonight. If he doesn't, I understand. We've actually got quite a few people who are running around town getting votes and stuff like that. But So when I was talking with Harvey, we talked about a lot of things. And now Harvey, I believe, at one time was a Republican, and has since changed his stripes. So, folks, I've been really trying to get him back on the reservation, because if he should win the city council seat, he would not only be in a really a ward that actually needs strong leadership, but it also needs a change in leadership. So the thing that I was talking to Harvey about was that there is a generational corruption that has been at work on the west side of Las Vegas, 89106.
And when he says generational corruption, he means intergenerational corruption.
I mentioned that in a post on Facebook that I had this conversation with Harvey. We agreed on a couple of things. That there's a lot of development that needs to happen on the west side of Las Vegas, the historical west side, for those of you who might be wondering what I'm saying. The historical west side of Las Vegas. That's between Bonanza, the I-15, and basically all the way up to Rancho, heading up to like Cheyenne.
See, because it's the same legislator that he's talking to and the other one that he wants to see, Mr. Vanguard, and who knows who else. But it's intergenerational prepositional phrase, my friend. That means it's passed on and passed on, not generational corruption, because there is the corruption would be at the hands of the legislator who were there before, correct? And the person that you were talking to was there before.
So economically, there needs to be some issues dealt with. Number two, that there were indicators or there were things that actually contributed to the economic downturn in the west side, and that actually started in about the 70s.
In fact, so is the planning person who's also seeking. These individuals are part of what you're calling intergenerational corruption. So use the term properly.
When they opened up the doors to blacks being able to leave the west side, and many of us did. I did. I was one of the people who left, and I was very young at the time. But my mom said, "No, we're leaving. We're out of here."
But yes, I do my due diligence, and I do have time and energy and resources, and I do know how to read, and I do know how to use the internet. And when you want to talk about your man, and he talking about lovely co-host Cheryl, and he went intergenerational on us, didn't he, Tim? He said, I was trying to pass. I'm yellow? Is that the problem? Because I hate to tell you, I'm the original Pan-Africanist, my brother. My lineage is from Costa Rica. Yes. China, my grandmother's from Hong Kong. And both my grandparents, my father and my grandfathers, are Jamaican men.
He said you had hot sauce in your
I don't even eat chicken. Y'all ever see me eat? I go to... Now, I'm going to talk about you because I know you go to functions because I see in your Facebook, and that's what we need to do. Go to these people's Facebook pages, and you can see how many banquets they go to and who they walking around with. As the same thing you're talking about intergenerational, these people who are trying to take over Ward 5 again are the same folks who've been running it for show.
That area of town, the historic west side, D Street, Jackson, was a thriving, bustling metropolis. Really was. That was our downtown when I was a kid. Well, fast forward a little bit to 1970, all of a sudden black folks are starting to spread because we could move off of the west side and things went downhill. So anyways, I make the comment that I said that there was not only people leaving the neighborhood there, but also there was a generational corruption that was going on. So I made that comment on Facebook, and all of a sudden I hear somebody say, or I see somebody post, and it's this radio guy. He goes, "So what corruption? Who was it? Make some facts. Tell me, say some names." Now this is the thing about it. This is how disingenuous this brother is, okay? He is a conservative. He knows he's a conservative, but he doesn't want anybody else in the neighborhood to know he's a conservative. I know the brother's conservative because I talked to the guy off radio and talked to the brother. I know he is, but I see what he's doing. He wants to play both sides of the fence. He wants to pass. Okay, you know what I'm saying? He wants to pass as a Democrat and yet be a conservative. I cannot do that. Okay, I cannot pass as something that I'm not. I'm a conservative, folks.
And you told us right there, you can go to my Like It Is Radio Facebook page. I will have that link. Thanks to my man Crazy D from Lordland Films. We're going to show you. He goes off on me for half an hour.
Franklyn, we're just going to call you Franklyn G. Franklyn. Okay, cool. I'm going to adjust this camera just a little bit for you because I want to get you in the shot. Here we go. Make sure you're in the shot there. Oh, and it looks like we've already got people already online that are already a part of this. So Franklyn, this is your first time joining us.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thanks for the invitation.
Oh, my pleasure. Now, I've been on your show before.
Oh, that's where it's supposed to be.
That's it. And so tell everybody a little bit about your show because you're on KCEP.
Correct.
And so tell everybody who you are, and then we'll kind of outline the show.
Well, KCEP is the African American station, if you will, here in Las Vegas. It's a public channel, 501c, and we are 88.1. We're streaming, and we are doing everything we can do to keep the level of communications involved with the community, in as much as disseminating information about everything from welfare fraud to voter registration, autism awareness. We are the fabric of the community, the drum, if you will. My show is other shows that I tend to work with, the executive producer of a few. But
what shows are you on? So
well, like It Is Radio. You can go to likeitisradio.com. You can go to The Breakdown, which is on Facebook, and also Like It Is, which is also on Facebook. And you can also check us out on YouTube. I have a podcast with a couple of great brothers, Lordland Films on YouTube. You can see our podcast that we do. As I said, it's all part of the outreach of the community, trying to keep everybody engaged, involved, and at least on a comparative, educational, informational, entertaining level. Because here in Las Vegas, a large percentage of the population history of Las Vegas is based in African American labor. So there are a lot of African Americans that have resided here. And 88.1 has been on the air 44 continuous years under the leadership now of the general manager, Mr. Craig Knight. But there are a variety of shows on that during the course of the day you may want to listen to, especially in the morning. Most of those are informational, whether it's insurance, health issues, police issues, publication issues, black business issues, black spirituality, if you will, or religious. So Power 88 fills the gap out here in Las Vegas for the Valley to keep the African Americans connected.
Yeah, you know what?
To the larger black diaspora. I love to say that.
That's a good one.
Okay.
That's a big word, though.
Man, that's not a big word. That's not a big word.
I didn't know you were going to go big word on it.
Oh, no. Regular words.
Well, it's good. Well, it's good seeing you, though.
Yeah. I've been watching your cast. I've been seeing you. Oh, yeah. I see you had you started out with a couple of brothers, and then you've been covering a lot of the Republican candidates, which is one of the reasons I think that we should always have dialogue, because we don't always get dialogues from Democrats.
That's true.
We don't always get dialogue from libertarians. We don't always get dialogues from Republicans either. So with the opportunities that present themselves, whether it's to talk to you or other bigwig Republicans here in the state, we open the opportunity because that's where it is.
It is.
Dialogues.
You know, and one of the things that we continually say on the show here is the whole purpose behind the Nevada Republican Black Caucus is to give African Americans who are on the conservative side a voice.
But what about just regular Republicans? Do they have to be black conservatives?
Well, because I would say that we have a different mandate. In that
conservatives, you mean?
No, blacks in the conservative party.
Okay.
And so we do a lot of we recognize that even in the conservative party or the Democrat party, blacks have a special place, because we will always be, if we walk down the street, they're not going to say, "Oh, are you conservative?" Because even though he's got a better suit than I do, they would say, "This brother's a conservative."
But this is your store. This is your organization. You're the proprietor here.
But they wouldn't say, "You're a conservative. You're a liberal." They would never say that. They would just say, "There's a couple of brothers walking down the road."
Well, you're being kind, and it's funny that you would say that, because that's what Malcolm told us.
Yeah.
And as we are on the eve of Malcolm's birthday, which is May 19th, a couple of Saturdays from now, we're having a very big program here to keep, as I said, to keep the information flowing. And that's what Malcolm said. They don't stop you because you're Christian. They don't stop you because you're Baptist, Buddhist, Muslim. They stop you based on the complexion, or the more complexion, or the lack of complexion, or however you define it. And that's what we have in common.
That's right. And so really, that's what we all need to have a voice. And we need to have a voice, whatever party we're in. We need to have a voice in that. And so that's really important. And that's what we're going to talk about today too. We're going to talk about local level stuff. We're going to talk about some of the national level stuff that's going on here.
Can you handle the national? Your man is going crazy.
Wow, it's crazy stuff going on though. But some great things that are going on.
Some things that have to happen for other things to go on.
That's
so
true.
Big shout out to the 45. He got the 3 out. That's cool. I'm with that. That's about the nation.
Yeah. So we're excited about that family. So did you stay up late to watch it?
No.
No?
Not at all.
Really?
It wasn't my cousin. And they shouldn't have been captured anyway.
But,
I mean, don't get me wrong. They were pawns in a larger game.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, even under the Obama administration, they didn't react quickly enough.
Yeah. But so these guys are out now. Hopefully there's celebration. Maybe.
Well, they'll make money. They'll tell their story. They'll be on the networks and see whose platforms they address.
Yeah. Do you think that this is going to bring maybe the two parties closer together? Or do you think it's going to have an effect on them maybe?
No, because 45 will probably try to claim it all for himself.
Yeah.
And recognizing that the State Department and other individuals who are involved to negotiate, I'm sure it just didn't happen in this past couple of 3 or 4 days that he sent his pawn over there. You know, I mean, it just doesn't make sense that you would hold on to them that long, and then one individual could come over as quickly as that and get it worked out. Even Jesse confessed that prior to his release of the hostages in Iran 20, 40 years ago, he had dialogues with them prior to that.
Sure. So. Yeah. So we had two guys that were there for 1 year, about 1 year. And then we had another guy that was there since 2015.
Correct.
So those guys have been there for a while. We've got people all around the world who are, well, I think the last one we heard about was some guy in Turkey.
Right.
He was a pastor in Turkey.
But the guy they got out of whatever with his family, that's what he wanted to be. Remember that?
Yeah, it's interesting. Interesting. So anyways, so maybe if we can, hopefully, what would the world be like in a perfect world? What would the world look like if everybody just got along? It's almost a Rodney King thing, right?
Why would
we all just get along?
No. Why would that doesn't make sense. Man has never gotten along.
Yeah. That's unfortunate, isn't it?
No, that's survival. I mean, for the beginning, if you and I were together, there's competition for different things, whether it's food or even in the early days, just shelter.
Yeah.
There's competition for everything, so why should everything get along?
Yeah. Well, folks, if you're just joining us right now, this is This Week with the NRBC. I'm your host, Sherman Ray. In studio today, we have on-air talent for KCEP Radio. Franklyn is here, folks, and we are so excited to have him here. And he's looking good, folks. I'm going to tell you right now. I tried to dress up.
It's a reflection.
But we've had some guests on here.
I've seen your guest.
Yeah, you're looking good. So
thank you.
So we are very excied to have you.
It's that West Indian, Jamaican, New York flair,
Because that's
I know,
where
we're
we're
both
at.
Jamaican.
We're
See that?
both Jamaican.
Believe that.
We're a couple of Jamaicans hanging out, just talking.
For real.
Yeah. Local elections are coming up. And what I'm doing right now, folks, because I know some of you are wondering what the heck I'm doing, is I've got I just happen to have a live feed over here to my left. And so if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask either one of us during the time that we have here together, we will be able to see those questions. There might be a little tape delay, and it looks like we have a couple of people that are already on. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate in asking us, because we're here to answer some of those questions if we can. There is a little tape delay, so it might take a minute, but that's all good. Local races are coming up, and we just had one, Ward 5. Ward 5, where KCP's at. We had Creer win that one.
Correct.
And so it was a. What do you think of that now? What do you think of the local guys that are running right now?
Well, the people don't think much of them because Ward 5 is the historic west side of Las Vegas, where African Americans were really forced to live due to the fact that they weren't allowed to live in Las Vegas, so they were on the other side of their train. I know. But your listeners, the people may not be aware of the historic side. So, unfortunately, that's what happens. But it's spread since then. When it's an area that contains roughly 40,000 people, if you're being generous, okay, registered voters. This election really was won with less than 700 votes for a city council seat, which is really terrible. The voters didn't come out.
Yeah. Do you think that says something about what's going on in the community?
Well, definitely. There's no appeal from the communities that they're registering voters to register, because the community is still predominantly white. A large Hispanic community, so it's an African American, so it's pretty a little bit encompassing of everybody.
Yeah.
But the fact that less than really, if you tallied all of the votes, 2,500 people voted in an area where there are over almost 40,000. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That means there is no appeal amongst the constituents that there's not a black thing, a white thing, a Spanish thing. That's a not appealing thing.
Yeah. And I wonder, not only is there not an appeal from the people, but there's not a mandate for the politician that comes in.
No, the politicians are the same guys who say, this is what I've been, this is what I've done, I'm still here.
Yeah.
And they're a long time, Baldwin made a great statement when he was down south, and he was talking about African Americans and their conception of things. And he said, the history is within the people, and the people are within the history. I mean, they couldn't separate themselves from what was historically theirs in terms of the land and not leaving and things of that nature. The same thing with these politicians here. All of them made great references to how long they've been here and how much the city has changed under their leadership, under their watch, so to speak. And the people who do participate are those who have a small vested interest in what they believe those individuals who they've known for a long time continue to breathe down their neck and give to them.
Wow. We have somebody online, Erica King says, if you keep selling the same nightmare, people stop buying them. Erica, if you could do me a favor, just elaborate on what you're meaning here. But I don't know, she says, if you keep selling the same nightmare, people stop buying them. And I'm wondering if she's talking about the low voter turnout. And people just said, you know what, we've just been sold a bill of goods the whole time, so we're not even going to even participate.
I believe that, but that's not just in this Ward 5, that's America.
Yeah.
The numbers are low unless it's a presidential, and then even sometimes, until recently, the numbers were low. But now, politics, race, all that factors in, it draws a lot of people out, and a lot of first-time voters based on singular issues. That's how we got 45.
Yeah. There was a lot of contention. There was a lot of people saying, hey, I don't like this, I do like this. There's a lot of hate, there's a lot of fear.
Well, he promoted that.
Yeah.
He promoted that.
Yeah, and that's part of politics. So
is it?
Yeah, sure. I don't know if that's anything that's just particular to him.
I didn't hear JFK saying, get him out of here. We'll take him out of here. I didn't hear JFK there. And he had, and the reason I make the symbolism because he lived in a rambunctious time, so to speak, and he had affairs with other women, as we know. So some similarities there, but the type of eloquence in which he deals with matters isn't presidential.
Yeah.
And he started from the beginning when he first came down the escalator, talking about Hispanics are this, and brown people are that, and so he set race as a tone. Hitler did that. Mussolini did that. Idi Amin did that.
Sure. What does that say to the black community, do you think? Because we both represent, our people.
Definitely.
And really, those are the only things I can speak to. I can't speak to any other group of folks. In my mind, just because I remember one of the things that Trump said, because since we're talking about Trump a little bit, and this is something historical that has happened in at least the last 40 years or so, that the black community has said that Republicans don't reach out to blacks, that the Republican Party doesn't care, dismissive. You can say all the things that we can probably think of. And but in this particular election, Trump did speak to, and it wasn't, we can say the amount, whatever you want to say about it, but he did actually go into the black community and speak to the black community and say, what do you have to lose?
Well, that's easy.
We're going to talk a little bit more about the effects of that, but what do you think? I mean, when somebody says that to you, speaking to the black community, what do you think?
Okay, so let's revisionist history. When you say speak to the black community, he went to specific black churches with specific black pastors who welcomed him into the church. So right there, that's out, because when I go to church, I want religion and spirituality. I don't want my politics coming out of church, and nor do I want pastors picking or telling me anything about politics. Stick with Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, whatever it is.
Sure. So
it's a select community that he spoke to.
But that's interesting that you say that. That you say it. Now, a pastor will tell you how to live your life.
Right.
They'll tell you who you can and you can't sleep with.
Well,
right.
Rabbis too.
Rabbis too.
Imams too.
Yeah. And then But when it comes to politics, and this is universal. If a pastor speaks about politics, then all of a sudden people go, wait a minute, you need to get back in that pulpit.
Right.
Because you're treading on what?
Well, I don't want my politics from the pulpit. I recognize that the spirit, the energy of Jesus and that spirituality shouldn't be bound by politics. It isn't.
Yeah.
I mean, if people vote on the political issues, that's why you have these evangelicals who supposedly believe in Jesus and seek the resurrection, and
Sure.
they're against abortion, but they're not against the death penalty.
Sure. Yeah. And I'm an evangelical.
Well,
so,
I recognize that was one of the first points you made that I investigated. Was you were talking about how many abortions there were in the black community, and it was alarming, and it was a statistic that was informational to me.
Yeah, that's a scary thing. I approached a pastor one time because we were talking about pastors not preaching, not mixing the politics in the pulpit. And I really appreciate folks listening to this because this is a good thing. We like to talk.
For sure.
This is a very intelligent man, right? I learn a lot.
Back at you.
I learn a lot from you. I spoke to a pastor, and I will not say his name, so don't even ask.
Okay.
And I said to him the same thing that we talked about on your radio show. And I said, do you know what the number one killer of African Americans is? And I said, I want your honest opinion on this. And I said, it's abortion. What is your stance on abortion? And his answer was, no comment.
It's pastor.
And I went, oh. Now this is funny because a pastor is basically supposed to teach just the Bible. It's just biblical stuff. And this particular pastor said, on the question of abortion, I didn't ask him his political stance. I didn't say anything. What is your stance on abortion? And he said, no comment. So when you hear a pastor say that, how do you react to that?
That's his own moral boundary of not stepping on many of his parishioners' feet and recognizing he has no control in that arena. And it's the same thing about homosexuality within the church, within age within the church, or age within the constituency. The spirituality that we seek should just be confined to making you feel a little bit better about your circumstance. Everything else is just hoopla. So, like I said, I don't want answers from pastors other than the way to salvation and being a better person. Yeah. And encouraging me because I'm a sinner like everybody else, and just encourage me. So that's all I want from church. Maybe some good music too.
Yeah, maybe some good music. Okay.
Definitely some good music. If you go to the V here in Victory, it's in Vegas. Great church.
Let's go back to our local elections. Okay. Because we can stray. I can talk about religion all day long.
Right.
I love it. Some of our local elections are going to be going on. Some of the issues they're going to be talking about, and some of the platforms that some of these politicians will be running on. One of them will be education. So talk a little bit about education. How's that affecting the black community, and what are you hearing?
Well, marijuana is supposed to bring money to the education system, so that's being investigated right now by one of our local leaders in terms of Miss Lois Tarkanian, who was just on my particular show, because they're generating a lot of revenue behind that, and also the guru of a pot here, Tick Cigarbloom. So they're making a lot of money, but it's not getting to the educational system. And I mean, most of the platforms that these individuals are talking about, they're not involved in education. There's only maybe the region, who is Joe Cato is running. But if you're at the federal level, which in a lot of the congressional seats, Nevada draws the least amount of money back here from the federal government. Until they say they want to change that, nothing will change. And they're not going to change because Nevada doesn't have any power other than Yucca Mountain if they decide to use that as a negotiating chip. But the reality is Nevada's educational system and all the elected officials are talking about it just blowing smoke. They can't change the system because they can't draw more money. If they could draw more money, then they could change the system because they could pay teachers adequately and improve the programs. Right now, Nevada spends 49 out of 50. Thank God for Mississippi.
Yeah, thank God for Mississippi.
But they're not interested in educating the children, because if your children are educated, you won't want to work in a casino. You want to run the casino. So the system is just such that they don't want to take gaming to task or mining to task to educate the kids.
Yeah. Rodney Smith's on, and I think Rodney's running for CD4. CD4. Says the same people who offered marijuana money are the same that redirected it to the general fund.
Yeah, elected officials.
Yeah. This is I think this was something that a lot of states were finding out, is that people are going, yeah, revenue coming from pot's going to be doing all these great things. Just let us have pot. Let us have pot, and we'll just, and everything will be just great. But the ones who are affected the most, detrimentally, to our detriment, are minority communities.
Accessibility is a bad thing for the minority community because they placed all of most of the dispensaries on the peripheral of those communities, but white people still buy more because they got more liquid assets, and their kids are the ones who will be more affected because black kids were getting it before. And the reality of the accessibility will factor down to disposable income and money, and that's back in the white community.
Yeah, so you don't think that the minority communities are going to be affected that it's going to be even worse than it was before?
No, because in a minute it become price competitive and the prices will go up, so the dispensaries and things of that nature will be elite. And once casinos get a hold of it, the Bellagio blunt is coming. Smoke it. Stay at the Bellagio and smoke here. So it's just a matter of time before they direct it in. They say they don't want it, but the only reason they don't want it is because they make a lot of money off alcohol. And once they figure out they can make the same amount of money off marijuana at a smaller disposable area, bye-bye Jack Daniels.
By Jack Daniels. Michelle is online. Thanks for the questions, folks, and the comments. Michelle Smith says in this, well, you're putting a lot out here, Michelle, so got to slow up a little bit. She says, I said, y'all fell for the okey doke with marijuana for the money. Is that we, and I think what she means is that we basically believe that allowing marijuana into our community, recreational marijuana. So I don't know if I think the jury's still out on the medicinal marijuana because I don't think we've really explored that enough.
No, it's out all of it. You can just go get what you want. It's like Macy's.
Well, I mean
So I hear.
Yes, yeah, but I mean the medicinal, properties of it.
Definitely, it's definitely medicinal properties to it. It's been proven. It's just been sequestered by the Food and Drug Administration because people who have cancer, if they were hungry or they have a lot of pain, it eases the pain. It's not as expensive as the pills that they're forced to buy from the pill company. And the marijuana in itself is it's medicinal. It's from the readings, there's other things other than getting high from it.
Yeah.
It's the CDC count, and things of that nature. So if you investigate, you have aches and pains. They say it relieves it.
Yeah, well, sure. Makes people gain weight.
It does? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you smoke, you get the munchies.
But that's good for the economy then, because then the shopping.
And it's good for shopping.
That's
yes.
right. So it's fueling the economy.
But the people who were saying, basically, we're going to bring pot in because it's going to bolster your economy. You're going to be able to use it for schools. You're going to be able to pave your roads with it.
And it does.
That if the money
makes its way through, but that's up to the legislature.
Yeah.
And currently, like I said, they're hiding it here in Nevada. So, what are you going to do? But it's up to the elected officials, those people that we trust, black and white, to do the investigative nature and not be bought off by the marijuana industry or the legislature.
Yeah, and I think since Rodney's still on the line, so Rodney, if you win the congressional seat, that might be something you look at.
Well, any candidate, and we're blessed to ask them, all of them, whoever represents the state at the federal level will be a marijuana candidate because legislation across the United States is all going to be streamlined. Whatever happens in one place pretty much happens in the other place. If we could just get that to happen with the investigation of police shootings, it'd be great, and rape kits. But whatever happens in Nevada should have the same law has to be uniform in Kentucky as it does in New York because that's what this country is predicated on, uniformity of laws. So vis-a-vis marijuana having legislation to freely sell marijuana, these candidates, if they're smart, they'll take marijuana money and get their platforms out there because marijuana is here to stay.
Yeah. I've never been a big proponent of marijuana for one reason, and call me old school, but
old school was proponents of marijuana.
I'm in my world, old school. Old school was that it's just another gateway to getting us going that way instead of going this way. As a community of people, I think one of the worst things that could ever happen to us. It's almost like the old days. Remember, they used to talk about Indian reservations. They would say you had to throw a bunch of whiskey out there, and that was one of it was kind of a cliche type thing.
Right, but they're genetically predisposed to it. That's why it affects them, and now we know that.
Yeah.
And they have large alcoholic problem. Alcohol on the reservation, but
sure.
That's still into contradiction of the offense. The white man.
Yeah, So in our communities, you allow now the free flow of marijuana, and it's like, son, God, this is not what we want. It was illegal. Do we as a people need to have that in our communities?
It's in the community already. It was there before.
Yeah, but now there's an open door to it. Is that something we should have as people?
Yeah, definitely, because of the people who may need it to subside their pains, as they say, and those folks who definitely, if you look at it, a lot of African Americans are in those dispensaries, but still, it's all about disposable income, and white people still have more disposable income, so they'll still spend more on it. You know, I mean, for the black community, I mean, they didn't try to stop crack, but now they're trying to stop opioids.
Remember that?
That's prescription pills that you get from your parents. But
that's true.
You know, it's what the crisis is. Marijuana, if used properly, can solve some issues and financially can reap some benefits.
Yeah. Well, so we'll just respectfully disagree on this.
Right.
Because
well, when these guys come in, you should talk to them and ask them, do they recognize they're going to be, if they are elected, since they're a Republican side,
Sure.
they will still be marijuana candidates.
Yeah. There's actually, who was it now? Former Speaker of the House, on the Republican side. Now all of a sudden he's like, I had come to Jesus moment.
No, he got paid.
Yeah, he got paid.
Yeah, boner.
Yeah, and that's just, to me, that was, I think a lot of Republicans went, really?
No, they took the checks.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Wrong. It's not a black thing or a white thing. That's
crazy.
A money thing.
Yeah, but that's crazy. If you're just joining us right now, folks, this is This Week at the NRBC. I'm your host, Sherman Ray, the founder of the Nevada Republican Black Caucus. In studio today, we are so pleased that we have Franklyn G here. He is the on-air talent over at KCEP Radio. He's so graciously come in and lending a little perspective, a little bigger perspective on some of the community things that are going on here in Las Vegas. I think we need that more and more and more. We don't need to just hear a one-sided thing here. That these kind of dialogues are something we need more and more.
Definitely. Yeah,
and I hope this isn't just whole time that during the election cycle. I'd love to continue doing this over and over again. We do have a chat line that is open. We're on Facebook Live. We'll be on YouTube. We've had a healthy discussion already. It looks like on our chat line. Definitely send it here. We can see them. We can see them popping up, and we'll try to get to them as quickly as we can. So don't fear. We'll actually get to that. Let's talk a little bit about President Trump, because President Trump has been in office for almost 2 years. Almost 2 years now.
2 years too long.
Let's talk about the Trump effect.
What is it?
What is the Trump effect, and how has it been affecting the nation? Aside from the vitriol, aside from people just not liking the man, because and I think that sometimes that is the hardest thing.
But many are within their own party. Look how many Republican people are not going to be running for re-election.
That could be about it or not. But in your eyes, okay, let's talk about, Franklyn, what you're hearing from the folks who call on KCEP. What are they saying about, it's an even split? Is it 90-10? What's the kind of reaction that you're getting from your radio listeners?
Well, most of the African American conservatives that do call in every now and then, they want to challenge what isn't going on the other end of terms of us covering the glorification of Mr. 45. But then again, within the African American community, most black conservatives are in the closet.
Sure.
Where's the R. Kelly? They don't want to come out. They don't want to show themselves.
Yeah.
Business leaders and things of that nature they think may affect based on their political views. But most of the KCEP listeners are really the ones that are or would be conscious of the things that are happening to them now. I would say that very few agree with the policies that are going on, whether it is him closing down certain centers or even like we had a couple of days ago, we had Carson here, and he said at the same time he's going to raise prices for welfare people about 33%, whatever it is, but you still have African American leadership flocking to take pictures with him instead of challenging that kind of thing. So when African Americans, most of the callers that see the impact of some of the things that he's doing in terms of even recently with the hero at the Waffle House, he didn't say anything about this gentleman. He didn't say a word about him. That would have been a big outreach to say something. And as you said, what do we have to lose was his original question. We have policies to lose and programs to lose. Look at the people that he's placed in offices and positions of power. If you start with Sessions saying he's not going to continue half the prosecutions that were being investigated due to these unfortunate police murders of citizens. So his policies are affecting the people.
Michelle is saying, so she's got a question for you. And she said, Franklyn, really, she said, Obama was 8 years too long. Please tell me what specific he did for the black community.
He changed the image of all black young men. That you too, if you play the game properly, if you get help from your family, and you educate yourself, you can arise to the highest levels. So that's all he really did, is change that that image, because a lot of African Americans now know that, or believe in themselves as children, and even white kids know that a black man was your president. So that systemic change psychologically speaks volumes, Michelle.
Yeah, and I would agree with you on that, because you know what? Before that, there's a lot of folks who lived in just, I'll never get there. I'll never get there. So Obama rising to the level of president was great. And it was definitely, it was historic.
Right, for the imaging, because even if they try to change the textbooks in Texas, he'll still be known as, because they'll dilute it down by the time generations come, because he is biracial. So they'll just say he had a quarter black, he was a mulatto, or something to that effect. But the reality is people saw who he was during this time period, and it changed conscious levels. And if nothing else, I would also say the impact he had on healthcare by at least getting it through, while it was not through the fruition of everything, the fact that that was impactful for a lot of people, especially even here in this state. We're talking hundreds of thousands of people here in the state that were covered under that mandate. So those are the things I would say he did and continue. And plus, you know what? He made it look good. How about that, Michelle?
He was very stylish. You know what?
JFK was stylish too, but he made it look good.
And I loved Michelle Obama. I really did.
And she come on now. Thank you for that.
But the reality is, politics is always local.
True.
Politics is local, and now we've got to bring it back down to the local level. What has the Trump effect had locally to all Americans, in general, but locally, because right now we've got the lowest unemployment rate for African Americans.
Theoretically.
Okay. So either it is or it's not.
It's not, because what happens is there's so many people who are not in the workforce, who are not accounted or attributed for, and it's the largest amount of African American
labor participation rate.
Right, because they're not in it, and it also you figure the largest amount of African Americans currently in the service, which aren't people who are counted either in the GDP. So
so it's
you can manipulate the
interesting
numbers.
that during the Obama administration, that they didn't count the labor participation rate. Everything was like, hey, it's all good. And then somebody brought up labor participation rate, and then they went, well, that doesn't matter. But now it's something to look at.
The numbers are better, but they're not the best paying jobs. Those numbers are true. I concede that. But the job, there's a difference between a job and a career. People now having to work 2 and 3 jobs to do what was one career, and minus health benefits that were provided for the largest amount of American large industry businesses. Due to the breaking up of unions and the unions allowing themselves to be broken up, healthcare has gone out the window. That used to be an American right if you got a job.
Yeah, and it's funny that in America, I look back at history, and I look at the greatest generation. The greatest generation, I'm sorry, we've got people walking in the door too, which is we look at the greatest generation, that generation between, I think, the 20s, 40s, 50s.
Who considers that? Okay. That's their term.
Well,
because black people were catching hell back then.
Yeah.
That wasn't a great generation for my grandfather.
True. But when we look at that generation, the one thing that made that generation different than all the other generations, especially American history, was that the hunger to build something, the hunger to make things happen. We didn't have the welfare policies we have now.
Sure we did.
Well, not the way we have them now.
They were different. They were called soldier loans, VA loans. That's how they built these small communities to take after the World War II. Places like Levittown, New York, and Hempstead were the original towns. And even places like out in Summerlin, we still do that. They reward them with land, but grants. They reward them with education. So the things that were given to them in that great generation that were precluded to African Americans.
Yeah. Do you think that the hunger that the folks had during those times because it was poverty. When we talked about the Great Depression, talked about those, I mean, those were deep, deep times in America. To dig out of that, can we
To have
learn
programs
something?
to assist them to get out of that. So you can't dig out if you don't have a program that's facilitated to helping you. FDR's New Deal helped white folks to come up, didn't
Sure.
help black people.
Yeah.
When those jobs were being handed out by the Public Works Department, things of that nature, African Americans were recluded. So if you want to do the same thing now under this great administration that we have all this money, we can get taxes back, create jobs, create training programs, allow those things to flourish again. And that's the hunger you're talking about, because there was a receptivity to that hunger.
Is it within us as a people that we have the drive within us that we don't need all those programs? Or
It's
is
not
it
about
in your
drive,
mind?
it's about assistance.
Well, no. Is it in us that we can do it our own, that we don't need anybody else's help?
Well, when the large corporations start taking research and development money, they're doing the same thing. They're saying help us. When you take small SBA loans out, they're helping us. When farmers buy those products and they can write it off in their taxes, they're getting help. So those kind of things are built into the system. If those things were done to help those disenfranchised with educational programs and things of that nature, it would be the same outreach.
Yeah. We're both Jamaicans.
Right?
There's
Jamaican
something,
descent.
Yeah. There's something unique with Jamaicans that we do. And we created a system within Jamaicans to help each other out. My mom used to call it the bank or the
Susu.
Yeah. And explain to our folks what that was.
Well, it's not a Jamaican thing. I'm a Pan-Africanist in as much as you can tell.
Okay.
If you look at me, half my family is from Costa Rica.
Yes.
Half of my family is Jamaican Asians. So, and my grandmother's from Hong Kong. What are you going to do? But Asians do that because all they do is pool their money together. And then at some point, they allow a family member to take that money and branch out into a business, hopefully, to put continuous money back into another family member getting it out. So it's not just a Jamaican thing. It's a lot of cultures do that. Hispanics do that, whether they're all living in the same. It may call different things. It may under different principles, but the family unit getting together.
Yes.
It's susu.
Susu. And and the reason why I bring that up is, as a conservative, I don't want the government in anything. Because if you have the government in your life, whatever the government can give you, the government can take away from you. And then the government says, well, I gave you that, you didn't get that to your own.
Well, no, I pay taxes, so I earn the right to have that, and that should include proper education and police protection.
Sure, and that's what the government is at a minimum supposed to do, right?
Right.
That your roads, and for the common defense. That's
Okay.
really bad. But all these systems, and it's not that they're not needed, but we rely on them now.
I don't know if we rely on them. They're not there, so how do you say we rely on them?
Well, we say to ourselves, I cannot go further because they're not there.
No, we have impediments based into not getting SBA loans or home loans or proper education based on the taxes. Like where we are now right here in Las Vegas. This area was built, predicated on the taxes of the West Side. They're not rebuilding, they don't have any new roads over here. We got new roads, new schools, we're close to Summerlin,
Sure.
It's nice. We both live in this area, but at the same time,
I didn't know you live on this side?
Yeah, no,
What? Wait, hold it. Wait. That's how you got to sue.
No, I got to sue by hard
work
work and education, by
What?
becoming an
No,
astute
no,
individual
somebody
and getting a
gave you
good
that suit.
Yeah,
No,
right.
no.
Nobody
What?
gives anybody
What?
anything.
No.
I
That's
earned
what-
this suit, just like you earned yours.
Yes, I did.
There you go. So I would preclude the same thing. I went to school. I got a job. I have a career. I made just as much as anybody else, and I've been blessed
Yes,
to have
you
an
have.
education
Yes.
and do some good investments. So
Sure.
at the same time, I'm like regular brother.
Yeah.
From Harlem,
And you work hard
Every
to get
day.
what you got. And that's really, I think that's the spirit of America. That is the spirit of America that everybody, I believe, gives you a sense of pride. Because as soon as I challenged you on that, you went, "Oh no, I bought this.
Right.
I got this."
True,
Okay?
but I earned
Nobody
it.
else- You earned that.
Right, but I
That's
still
right.
have to go through impediments to get to that. My education and things of that nature that will allow me to
did.
even want to buy a seersucker suit in season.
In season.
And I didn't just buy it. This wasn't brand new. But the bottom line is, I was afforded certain opportunities
Yes.
based on educational pursuit that I had that was family developed.
Yes.
So when those things are capitalized on, you can become who you are or who you want to be.
Sure. We're still on the Trump effect. Folks, this has been a good dialogue so far, and Franklin, I really appreciate you coming down. I really do. And we go back and forth here, but that's kind of what that's what brothers do. We just kind of talk. the Trump effect on the nation has taken us out of certain treaties. It's taken us out of certain agreements. This latest one is with now. Looks like we're going to have a meeting with Kim Jong-un, North Korea.
For sure.
Yeah. So what do you think of that?
Let's see what comes out. That's like Keith Sweat's song, I'm gonna. Let's see what he brings home.
Yeah.
Because at the same time, don't get me wrong, it could go the other way, and he always seems to step in his own way. So
this is a tough one. Yeah.
And if nothing else, the Koreans, as we know, no offense, just based on history, they know that Americans haven't honored the Korean War. What was that all about?
Wow.
47th parallel.
Yeah.
Who actually violated what?
Sure.
And then even as you would look at the country, it's to their benefit to associate with America, but at the same time, Trump could have left them alone. They ain't got nothing to do with us. They're not going to bomb us. That was all fantasy.
Yeah. So if this comes out the way people hope it does, right? If it comes out the way, should Trump win the Nobel Peace Prize?
Come on, no. I don't believe that.
Just to,
I don't believe one singular
you don't have
action.
to say yes.
No, I don't believe one singular action in terms of unifying. If it does happen, then Kim Jong-un has to get one too, because it's a partnership, and also the countries that intervene. So the fact that he may have alluded or addressed this.
Thing.
Yeah. But at the same time, did Kennedy get a Nobel Peace Prize for the Cuban Missile Crisis or the aversion of the missile crisis? No.
No.
Neither did Khrushchev. So why would Trump and some of his Trump cronies say that he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize?
Yeah.
That's cronyism.
I just don't see it that way. I see. Yeah, I just don't see.
But why would he be honored with such an auspicious occasion? Is he similar to Nelson Mandela and de Klerk?
Oh, I don't think we should put him even on the same plane.
You think he's
not
better
on the same
than
piece of paper. But if you can bring a country that, if you look on a Google map, and you see South Korea, and it's all lit up looking like Vegas, and then you look at North Korea, and it's just nuts.
But whose fault is that?
Yeah, whose fault is it?
It could be possibly America's fault by cutting them off and ostracizing them from the larger international community after the Korean War, and not allowing Japan and China and those other countries to trade with them openly and freely. So the seclusionary measures his father took was to keep others out.
Sure. So past presidents
have maintained the same system.
Up until right now.
45, right?
45 said, hey, look, we're going to do what we think is in the best interest for us as Americans. And I can't talk about the rest of the world.
That's the result of bullying over the past 50 years.
Yeah.
He's been bullying them for 50 years, cutting off their sovereignty, cutting off their things. And the same thing happened in Cuba. They cut him off, but Obama opened that up, and now Trump's closing that down. Yeah. So what's the purpose of that? And they don't have any nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
But they got great cigars and beautiful beaches.
Yeah, they do that. That's true. So this could be a potential game winner. This could be a potential game changer. Now that we're coming up to the 2018 election cycle, the question now is, will this have a major effect on 2018 cycle?
Well, I know that they're talking about the blue wave was supposed to be predominated by black women, as they were in Alabama. So, I don't know. I know you were talking about a black wave. The black wave looked like it's still going to be blue.
That?
I read your stuff.
What?
Come on. But African Americans have voted more for Democrats, as you know, and especially in the bigger elections.
Sure.
And now that they have the entity and the nemesis of Mr. 45, that may draw even more folks. And the younger generation now, because of the gun laws that won't change under his administration, are definitely involved. So maybe you get some more voters.
Yeah, because right now...
There'll be more Hispanics for sure, because Ward 5 will be Hispanic next election. Prediction.
Yeah, it's amazing that 11% of, and this was what the pollster said, 11% of African American males voted for Donald Trump.
I don't know about that. I think that's a highly inflated number.
I'm just saying what polls were saying.
I know. Polls, but not actual votes. Poll is something that they take on the way out, exit, or in. But actual verified votes.
Because you're right, because those same polls said Hillary was going to win in a landslide.
Well, you do know I did call Trump.
I had to say it.
I know, but I called Trump on my radio show even before.
Yes.
I know, because no offense, I know white people. And that means that I knew that they weren't going to vote for, unfortunately, a woman, and white women overwhelmingly did not.
I don't know if it's so much a woman, and it's the same thing with Trump. Obama. You know, is that...
Well, sexism and racism are definitely the same thing.
Well,
it's kind of close.
I would have voted for Obama.
But did you?
No, and I'll say I didn't vote for him. I lost my blackness card at the church I was going to at the time, and I was teaching a class.
Well, your skin brought you back. Don't worry.
Yeah, I know. And it has nothing to do with his skin color. It had something to do with his policy. And because he basically said, I'm going to fundamentally change America. And I would say,
Which
well,
America
okay,
needed to be fundamentally changed.
If it would have fundamentally changed to benefit us, I would have said, good, this is great. But what he meant was something, what I believe was something different. And what happened, and I believe somebody else wrote this on here, is he said that other than him just being president, that was really all he did for the black community. He stood up there and he wore a nice suit, and the guy could deliver a message. There's no doubt, could deliver a message. But did he change the way the job market for us? Did he help us?
Could he do that? The president is responsible for changing job markets. That's up to the business leaders to respond to the programs and things that he tries to implement. And that was met with resistance because we couldn't get a jobs bill. We couldn't get a same kind of bill. 45 is still not even pushing where he said he was going to, make America great again. Yeah. Where are these roads? Where are our airports? He complained about the airports and he's not doing anything about it. But the reality of President Obama, again, is the fact that the consciousness of the country was changed.
Yeah. So you happen to mention that president is only responsible for creating perception.
And policies.
Mm-hmm. Even with all the resistance that President Trump is going against right now. GDP is at what, almost 4% now?
Yeah.
Under Obama, it never went over what, 1?
Yeah, but he brought it back from the brink of where it was, so you got to look at it. That's having a flat tire, as his reference was, and fixing the economy to get better. Because the first 18 months of 45 was really predicated on what President Obama and that administration had put in place financially.
So what you're saying is that what we see right now is a result of the previous administration.
It's a building on. He's done some things because he's alleviated some of the stresses by opening up some of the regulations or the thought of regulations because people have to pay to talk to him.
I'll put that down as Trump did something right.
No, the system, you can't mess it up. He can't mess it up. That's business.
What? No.
It's business.
Definitely could mess it up.
Yeah, like George Bush did when he gave everybody their tax money thinking it was going to filter back into the system. Trickle-down Reagan's theory didn't work.
Yeah. Right now, you mentioned taxes. The tax cuts, the Republican tax cuts,
hurt us.
Really have not even kicked in yet.
But it hurt us.
How's that?
Because he put money back in that created a deficit for the future.
Okay.
That's what everybody's reporting, not just me. I don't have a PhD in economics, but I recognize the fact that if you're giving money away and it's not coming in at the same rate, which it isn't, and that's because even though Americans are employed, they're working harder for less money. Yeah, so that means taxes are less.
So you know that right now the government is taking in a lot more money than it did already because of the taxes, the tax cut.
Because more people are working.
What?
That more people are working.
I'll put that down number 2.
But they're not working
Trump
careers.
Did something good again.
Business is hiring them at because businesses hire them at less money as opposed to hiring them.
You're giving something.
Right, no, it's supposed to hire them full time with benefits. They hire them for part time.
You're killing
and then they hire
me,
two part time workers to do the same job, and neither one of them gets benefits. So business gets to keep that profit.
Oh, I'm still putting down as partial. Trump did something right, almost.
The system, capitalism. He's not capitalism.
You're tough, man. You're tough. Because the hard thing about this is that in the face of real progress, you still find that Trump
No, it's not. I'm not anti that. What happens is I believe these things are inevitabilities based on a capitalist system that we have predicated in this country over the past 400 years.
So capitalism's good.
Capitalism has benefits to those who get involved in it.
Yes.
But to the detriment of those who are under capitalistic foot, such as all the countries in South America and a lot of African Americans.
But we're really talking about America.
Well, here in America, because capitalism is what led to the slave trade.
And capitalism is what bought you that suit.
No. What bought me the suit was my hard-earned work in large different institutions.
Yes.
Not capitalism. Capitalism would have been me getting the suit at the right price. This suit was overcost because it was made by labor in other countries and then brought here and then form-fitted for me, as you would with the tailor.
We're running out of time here. I can't believe this.
But before we go,
we're not done. No, we're not done.
Okay,
yet. Because folks, if you just joined us, we're having a good time here.
Definitely.
Franklyn is here. He's joined us this week with the Nevada Republican Black Caucus this week. I really appreciate him.
My pleasure.
I really do. We're having fun here, folks. We really are. We do love each other. It's a Jamaican love, a Pan-Caribbean thing, but it's all good. It's all good. Franklyn is one of the on-air talent over at KCEP. I know you got some great things that are going on. I really want to give you an opportunity because I know you brought some stuff with you to talk about a little bit.
Well, no.
So
We're doing Malcolm X next week, which is May 19th. Is a full-day effort. It'll be happening at the West Las Vegas Library, Amphitheater, and the library. We're going to celebrate Malcolm X's birthday the proper way. We've been blessed. I've been blessed to get some of the lost footage, as we will, from the Smithsonian Institute. I just got the delivery from them, and we'll be showing those films. Nice. And we're going to have speakers out there, and then we're blessed to have one of the greatest historical teachers of our time, Master Teacher Baba Dr. Leonard Jeffries, who was a teacher at City College of New York, put together the largest Africana Studies department. He, Dr. Scobie, Dr. Betty Shabazz, he with Professor James Small, Baba James Small. They were able to just put together a program spanning over 20 years of educating African Americans about the African American culture. With Dr. Ben, Dr. Yosef Ben Yakiman, Dr. John Henry Clark, and they just were putting it. But he taught a class at City College for Malcolm over 20 years. Wow. The preeminent teacher of Malcolm at that college. I could never get in that class either. It was always filled.
Always filled.
That was always the old days when they had to go get those little cards. You had to get the cards.
Sure. And you got to fill it out.
Right, you fill it out and then turn it back in.
So when is this event?
This is Saturday, May 19th, next weekend.
So it's next weekend?
Next weekend.
What time does it start?
It's an all-day event. We start at 10 o'clock in the morning with the Native American Cultural Society, who will be opening us up in prayer and worship, because Malcolm was from Omaha, Nebraska. So we'll be involving them. We're going to have intergenerational. We have some city proclamations we got from some folks. I got to give a big shout out to, I will announce it afterward, who got it and who helped me with it, because
that was a big undertaking.
Well, here's a black thing, just because we're kicking it. At Ward 5, which is a predominantly black district where this is actually happening, I tried to contact that city councilman for the longest time. Newly elected, said he was going to hit the ground running. I'm putting it on blast because this is how we do. I want you to know I'm fair and equitable to everybody. When we have issues, we have issues. Under black leadership, if you're not responsive to black people, is that black leadership?
Yeah. So you're calling out Cedric Creer right now.
Well, I'm not calling him out. I'm speaking the facts. I've contacted his office in hopes to get a city proclamation. And it's supposed to be responsive. You would think that people are responsive, even though they're busy. No response. That's all I can say.
Well, let's put it out there right now. Cedric, if you're listening to us, if anybody has a way to get a hold of him,
I've done that on my show also.
You need to get a hold of Franklyn.
Well, it's too late now because we already gotten what we needed. And the bottom line is the outreach. You would think, and this is what I'm saying. One of the things that happens being a Democrat, as I definitely am, being African American, Pan-Africanist theories that I present. If our own aren't going to help us, other folks aren't going to help us either, because they don't think that we're serious enough to help each other. So why would they risk their neck to help us?
Yeah, and that's the problem. Is that and we've got to come together. We've got to come together and say, look, if because we can't depend on everybody else.
No. We never could.
No, and you know what? I'm a Republican.
Sorry to hear that.
And I meet with people. Thank you. I meet with people who are part of the White House all the time, but they know.
What did they offer you? Because I came here and I saw Trump's lady came in and said if we give Trump business plans that he would make them effectual. And there were a lot of prominent African American conservative Republicans in here. Did anybody get a plan to that lady? Where's that lady at?
You know what? It's funny because we'll have to talk about this off the air. But one of the things that, and I can say this now in front of everybody, is that we get contacted all the time about outreach to the black community. And the SBA administrator is always saying, how can we get money into the hands of African Americans?
His name is Shondell Newsom. He has some new product, and he has the largest marketing action. There's also Ken Evans, I believe his name is, who does the Urban Chamber of Commerce.
So you guys get a hold of me, because we definitely will talk. Because one of the things, Nevada in particular is, because we're going to run out of time, but Nevada in particular, not California, not Idaho or whatever else, Nevada in particular has a problem. Because I was just talking with a brother just an hour before you came in because we've got an issue here, folks. I'm a business person, you're a business person. One of the things that we tend to focus on more and more is how we can get business people inspired. Because we are the next generation. If we can't do it, folks, no one's going to do it for us. So we'll talk a little bit more about that and how we can get a hold of Shondell and.
But I wanted to show your audience one thing, because a lot of folks may not know what it's all about.
What is that?
This is just a briefcase, bro.
No. Show them this. Huh? Show them this.
Oh, this is from Africa, yeah, for sure.
Look at that. Can you guys see that?
Yeah. It's on the front too. It's on the front too. But this is what it's all about, just in case you ever forget. And most of your people who are listening or watching.
Wow.
This is what it's all about, my friend. Do you know what these are?
Those are shackles.
They're not just shackles. They're slave shackles. Slave shackles. This is what it's all about.
Sure.
See, and what makes this is important is you see how this is the lock. It was put on with a piece of metal. The person, the last individual who wore these, wore them to their death. Because all they had to do was cut their hands off to pull the body out. This is what it's all about. The fact that my ancestors came to this continent bound in these things.
Can you see this, folks? I want to make sure you can see it.
And that's what you'll see in a lot of the museums where you do see slave shackles, they're open. The special ones are the ones that are closed because someone's soul is in this.
Yeah.
And I brought this just so everybody can understand why African Americans on these shores need help, need assistance. Because for over 400 years, and especially on these shores, African Americans were forced. And this is what they had. This was jewelry for them. Not to talk about the indignation of being captured, not to talk about the indignation of being raped or being somebody else's property. Slavery put us at a disadvantage on many of the shores, not just here, South America, Caribbean. So unfortunately, this circumstance bounds white folks because this is what it is all about. The fact that reparations, in some way, shape, or form, I'm not saying money, could be in education, could be in job programs, could be in just in teaching folks, just a compassionate nature. This is what it's all about.
Thank you, Frank. I appreciate that. Folks, I think this is an appropriate time to stop. This has been This Week with the Nevada Republican Black Caucus. In studio today with us was Franklyn from the KCEP Radio. And we've had a lively discussion.
For sure.
I've really enjoyed this. Hope we can do this again.
We should. We definitely will.
We've got some good things going on in this city, folks. We've got just a rainbow of ideas and a rainbow, but we've got one focus, and that is to bring more education to the African American community, because we have a voice. We can have a voice, but we've got to mobilize. We've got to get going. We've got to get things going.
On both sides.
You know, on both sides. We can't just say, hey, guess what? Somebody else will do it. Because 700 people voting in Ward 5 is not a good turnout. We're not getting down on you, but we're saying you've got an opportunity. Take advantage of it. We'll see you again next week, folks, for This Week on
Thank you so much.
NRBC. I appreciate that, brother. And we'll talk to you soon.
Hotep.
Bye-bye.
This is Like It Is Radio, Black Intelligent Talk Radio.